I noticed there's a lot of confusion around the Great Battle series, especially which aircraft and DLC to buy and so on. So in this video I'll give you an overview over the current games and how they work together, and how to understand the business model of the Great Battle series. In 2013 the company 1C released Battle of Stalingrad. That was the first game of the Great Battle series and is available on Steam and in the store of 1C at il2stabilising.com. From now on I call this the store for clarity. Like the name, Battle of Stalingrad suggests, the game is set on the Eastern Front of World War II, depicting the air war between the Soviets and Germany from late 1942 to early 1943. The standard edition features the map around Stalingrad in different seasons, 8 aircraft of the time frame and location. The deluxe edition of Stalingrad features 2 additional aircraft. 1C calls those extra planes collector's aircraft, since they are often interesting aircraft from the player point of view. Interesting does not necessarily mean better, as we will discover. 2 years later, 1C released the next installment in the series, Battle of Moscow, basically going back in time, depicting an earlier time frame and battle, again featuring 8 aircraft plus 2 collector's aircraft and the Moscow map. The game can be bought independently from Stalingrad when bought from the store, therefore Stalingrad is not mandatory for non-Steam players. So if a player has not purchased Stalingrad, he can buy Moscow, but still launches the same game client and plays on the same multiplayer servers like the other players. Even when a player doesn't have a certain plane or module, the player still can play on the same multiplayer servers and maps. The player only cannot access the single player content, and you can't fly the aircraft which are features and modules he does not own. This principle is still valid for all other games which followed. So now for Steam. You can buy Battle of Moscow on Steam as a DLC for Stalingrad, which in turn means that you have to have Battle of Stalingrad first. Battle of Stalingrad acts like a base game, the main game. From there you can buy whatever you want, but Stalingrad has to be there. You also can link the Steam account and your store account for IL-2. This way you can buy all the games just normally from the store and can still use your Steam client. Again, Stalingrad has to be bought on Steam first, and from there on you can decide in the future if you want to buy products from Steam directly or from the store. And that is valid for all other coming games I will mention now. In 2017 the next DLC got released, Battle of Kuban, to date the last main Eastern Front DLC. Again, you guessed it, with 8 aircraft plus 2 and the corresponding map. This time set in 1943 and at the shores of the Black Sea. In 2019 the most recent DLC got released, the oddly named Battle of Bodenplatte. No, Jason, Bodenplatte is not a place. I know it, you know it, but it still sounds stupid, especially as a native German speaker. Anyhow, this time the action switched to the Western Front, implementing a Western Europe map with 8 plus 2 aircraft of that theater. Again, which DLC you should buy is totally up to you. Important to understand is everyone can play with everyone in multiplayer, and everyone is booting the same game client. A multiplayer server locks no one out. However, naturally you only can fly the planes you own. This causes sometimes confusion, since when a new player opens the game, it looks like that the majority of the content is behind a paywall, even though he just purchased a full-priced game. Well, this is technically correct. It is just that the game grew a lot over 8 years and received more and more content. The new player is just able to see all the other games he hasn't bought around his own game. Just imagine that a game like Battlefield, for example, with multiple installments over the years, would have used the same platform to release all the games from the Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 5. Just imagine you could buy one game, but you can still play with all other players which have bought the predecessor and successors. That's basically how 1C approached it, and in my opinion successfully, since the player base grew and grew over the years. Another limitation you should be aware of is the fact that the plane sets are also composed by server admins. It can therefore happen that you fly your own Stalingrad plane in a fitting mission, the server loads the next map, and this one features mainly Bodenplatte aircraft. Often the server admins add older planes to the plane sets so that players with only the older DLCs can still play, but then again you are at a major disadvantage if you try beating a 9044 Focke-Wulf 190D9 in your 9042 Yak 1. Earlier I mentioned those 2 extra aircraft you get with the deluxe edition of the different DLC. Or, like I said, they can be bought separately. And there are more of these collector aircraft, but they aren't part of any particular DLC. They can be found on Steam and in the store. These aircraft are often interesting or even not. Sometimes they expand the plane set of one main DLC a bit while they are not really part of it. Like the LA5FN and the BF-09 G6, other aircraft are just interesting, for example the PO2 or the JU-52. The collector's aircraft are in no way pay to win in my books and are mostly extending the scope of the sim. There's other additional content too, mostly single player campaigns or the tank and the World War I DLCs. Yeah, you can drive a tank in IL-2 too, but that is not really my cup of tea. But I know there's a fan base out there who likes to drive tanks or flies the old World War I aircraft regularly. Every single one of the mentioned DLC had an early access program in the past. And this is also the case for the Battle of Normandy DLC, the next coming DLC. I have not mentioned that one yet because it is, well, it's not finished yet. When a new DLC is announced, the developers release aircraft in a drip feed manner as they finish them, and they release them for the players which bought the DLC at this early stage. For the current early access program, this is the case for the Focke-Wulf 190A6, a late model of the BF-09 G6, the Spitfire Mark 14 and the P-47D22. Missing is the P-51B and C, the Typhoon Mark 1B, the Mosquito Mark 6, the Ju-88 C6 and the Me-410. Usually when all aircraft are released, the map and the single player career are released too, concluding the early access program. Note that this early access program is not available on Steam. The games only end up in Steam when they are released. If you would buy all the DLC, aircraft and campaigns at once while no sale is on, you would be a poor citizen in many countries. First tip, if you are patient, you can save a lot of money by waiting on the seasonal or special sale. On sale, the content costs only a fraction of the nominal price. Second tip, buy only one DLC at a time. Buy one of the main games first, play some single player and multiplayer, get some idea how the gameplay works for you and get a feel about what you like and dislike about the game. In case you don't like the game at all, you just saved a lot of money. In case you like it, you can extend your collection step by step. For the first steps, I recommend the Battle of Stalingrad. If you want to spend a little more, you could add Battle of Bodenplatte on top, and you can properly play all the missions the server admins can throw at you. I am really puzzled when I see sometimes those Steam reviews where they complain about the steep prices and the paywalls, because those people didn't really get how the game worked. I get it is a lot of money at a time, but you really don't have to pay that amount of money to have fun with the games. All those World War II DLCs are active and are played often in multiplayer. You don't have to fear that you buy that game at this point. Your mileage may vary with your time zone, but especially the European time zones are really fine and you can choose what to fly even. This is a really great thing for such a niche game. In the next video of this series, we take a look at which hardware you need to play the game properly, and we take a look which keybinds you need to assign to fly properly around. See you in the next one.